Hello everyone, I want to do a recycle, repurpose, reuse stroke trash to treasure project today. I've got this old stamp block. It was a music stamp, as you can see here, and the music stamp part was attached to the back, and I took it off a long time ago just because I wanted to be able to use the stamp in a more random way. But you know, this block of wood is so thick, I kept it because I thought, you know, I'm bound to find a way to recycle this at some point, and today is the day. I'm also going to be using a couple of napkins. These are the ones that were sent to me by Ninny's Napkins. Ninny's Napkins are based in Canada. They have an absolutely amazing selection of napkins, and you'll find the details to Ninny's in the description box below. So I've got these two here. I've got this more spring themed napkin and this autumnal one. I'm not ready to do any festive stuff yet, but you know, I'll get there. So I want to start off by doing something with this block of wood. Now it's got this piece of plastic wrapped around it. Let's see if I can get this off. Just showing the design and the name of the stamp, so that's come away really easily. This is a little bit sticky now, so what I'm going to do is just reach for some acetone, and I'm just going to clean up my block of wood. So I'm just using a microfiber cloth and some acetone. Mine's 99.5% pure acetone. You could use nail varnish remover for this, but this will hopefully melt the glue. It was just on the front and the sides. Right, okay, that is good enough for me. Next thing I want to do is paint the surface of my wooden block. I've got some of the Deco Cream acrylic paint. This is similar to a chalk paint. If you're using this sort of paint, you need to shake it really well first because it's got some oil in it that I find separates. But I'm just going to put a couple of blobs on here, and I'm just going to paint all of these sides of my wooden block, and it's probably going to want a couple of layers. But this will just clean up that wooden block and give me a good surface for my napkin to adhere to. My wooden panel is now painted on all of these sides, as you can see, and I've given it a dry with my heat tool as well. I'm going to start off by using this napkin here, and I've cut it into 4 panels. So on this napkin we had 2 birds. They're slightly different. I'm not sure which one yet I'm going to use, although I'm erring towards this one here. And then we've also got these, which I shall save and use on another project. I don't want to use those ones today. So now this one here is going to have to go in landscape orientation, because I want to be able to fit the whole of the bird on, and I think that's absolutely gorgeous. And I think I like this one here because I don't really want the butterfly in my design. This one would fit and work really well, but I just like the colours in this one. It just feels more autumnal, although it's more of a spring design. So this is the one I'm going to use. Now, before I start sticking my glue down, I want to remove the plies, and this is a 3-ply napkin, I do believe. Yep, here we go. Here's the next one. So I'm just going to carefully peel the layers apart, because if you stick the napkin down with all of your plies attached, you're only going to glue the layer that's on the bottom, and the top will just come peeling straight off. So I want to stick this down. So give my matte medium a shake. This is the Liquitex Professional Ultra Matte Medium. So I'm just going to apply a small amount of this. I've got myself a brush, and I'm just going to try not to knock my camera as well. I might need a bit more, actually. I think I do. Let's just add a bit more of this, and I'm just going to take this all the way to the edge, but trying not to go over the edge. So here we are. We'll make sure that we've covered all of the areas as well, because of course, you know, if we don't get glue absolutely everywhere, where we're missing glue, it's just going to come unstuck and it will bubble in the middle. So there we have it. That will do fine. And before this dries, I just want to stick my napkin down. So I just want to make sure that I've got this right to the edge. And I'm just going to gently use my finger now just to smooth this out. Just gone and grabbed some cling film, and what I'm going to do now is just, in fact, actually, if I grab my microfiber cloth, I can just press down really hard over my napkin, going from the centre and working out, and this will hopefully get rid of any of my wrinkles. Not that it really matters, because, you know, wrinkles add texture, as we all know, but if I can get rid of them, then I will do. And this, of course, is not sticking to my napkin, so it, you know, avoids any tearing. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. You see, that's better, that's perfect. Now I'm going to take an emery board and very, very gently, I'm just going to go over the edges just to give myself a really nice tear. But of course, I don't want to spoil the paint that I've got underneath. If I need to touch it up, then that's okay. But, you know, you can see that this is coming away really easily. I've given the napkin another coat of the matte medium just to make sure that it's well and truly stuck down and just to seal it. But I just feel as if I want to add a few more details just to jazz this up a bit and make it look a bit more interesting. I feel as if I want some more blossoms in the top right hand corner. So I think what I'm going to do is cut some of the details from this image here. Let me just move that out of the way. I'm going to use, oh, in fact, let me grab a clean one. Here we are. I've got a water pen here. This one's slightly thinner as well, and I'm just going to cut around this bit here. The water will just tear my napkin. Now I've got all 3 layers attached at this moment in time, so I'm just going to go around like this. Let me just cut it there, and let's just take this up to the top and see if we can just carefully tear this out and see if we can do something with this. And hopefully, by having the raggedy edges from where I've torn it with the water brush, you can see how easily this is coming away. You do have to be a little bit careful, but hopefully having the jaggedy edges means that it will look less obvious when I glue a piece down. Let's take some of that excess away. I want to get rid of that blue as well from the text writing. There we are. That should do it. And I'm hoping that I can just pop a little piece of this down on the edge. I think like that. I'm going to have a play around with this. In fact, what I think I'm going to do is get rid of this leaf. It's just in the way, so let's take that one off carefully. That's better. Yeah, you see, then I'll get more of the blossom on, so I think I want it to go something like that. So now that I've done that, I can take my layers apart. Again, we only want that top layer. I'm just wetting my fingers to do this. You could use sellotape, of course, if you wanted to. Just be careful with this. And I'm just going to apply some matte medium again, just in the top right hand corner. Make sure I've got plenty of glue there, and stick this on. How do I want this to go? I want to make sure that I don't cover up my bird like that, I think. And let's just really carefully just smooth this down. And because we've torn those edges here, you can barely see it. I just want to add a tad more glue over the top, and that's just added a bit of detail to that top right hand corner. And then I'm just going to grab my cling film again, just to try and get rid of any of the wrinkles. That's much better. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. I'd also like to add a bit of crazy script writing to mimic what we've got going on here. I've grabbed my Tim Holtz horlogerie stamp, and I'm going to use hydrangea blue, which I'm hoping will be similar to this here. We've got a piece of glue string on this. Let's get rid of that. And I just want to put a little bit, let's try it in the top first and see how that looks. Let's have some down here as well. And you see, I think I like that better, especially once it's dried. I think it will be fine. Now I felt that the blue was just a little bit too strong, and because I've added layers of matte medium over the top of the napkin, it means that I can just use a little bit of water on a microfiber cloth just to knock the blue back a bit, and that's just really toned it down. I'm happy with that. I think that's gorgeous. That's just beautiful. And I'm just adding a little bit of shading to my bird, just using a charcoal pencil just to bring him more into the foreground. Now there's just one more thing I want to add. I want to add one of the Tim Holtz transparent wings. This is from the Tim Holtz Ideology range, and I am going to use my art glitter glue for this because I find that being acetate, these are quite tricky for them to stick. Now I haven't used this for absolutely ages. Is it going to come out for me? And I want my wing to be dimensional, not too much glue. And I'm just going to stick that there like that. And I'm just going to leave that for a minute or two, just for that glue to grab. Now I want to use this napkin here for the other side. And I think I'm going to glue this down like this. I want both of my birds on. Now one of them is going to have part of their body cut off, and I think I want it to be the one on the right hand side. Let's have a look. Now I've got a good layer of glue down again, and I just want to make sure that I get both of my birds in. I want the tail on this one, and make sure that the head fits on of that one there. And again, I'm just going to take my cling film and just make sure, in fact actually if I roll it into a ball and I start at the centre and I just work my way out. Now I've kept going with my cling film. I'm just using really light circular movements here just to get rid of any of those wrinkles, and I think I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to give this a quick blast with the heat tool and then use the emery board again to get rid of the excess from around the edges. I trimmed the excess away from my napkin and left this drying overnight for the main reason that I wanted to make sure that the butterfly was set properly. Just look at this, that's not going anywhere, so I feel as if I'm happy now to move on to the next stage. But don't those look so pretty? Now I want to age the edges. These just look too new and too plain, and I want to give this more of a vintage look. I'm going to be using some of the Folk Art antique polish in brown. So what I'm going to do is just pour a small amount of this onto a microfiber cloth. I don't want to use very much of this at all, so I'm just going to be really careful about this. In fact, actually, let me just get a piece of paper as well. I just want to check this. In fact, that's not quite enough. We need more than that. In fact, I could actually put some onto this piece of paper itself. This is just some light cardstock, and I am just going to rub some of this over the edge just to give it more of an aged look. So we'll go all the way around, and I can just keep dipping. Let me just do this so that you can see. I perhaps need to lift the camera up. Perhaps that's a bit better. Yeah, I think so. So I'm just going to add some of this all the way around, and then I'll give that a quick blast with the heat tool. This is how it looks after one layer of the antiquing polish, and I'm just going to go over it again just to get rid of some of the streaks. So I'm just rubbing a second layer on And that's picking out a little bit of the grain now in the wood, which is good. You can see the difference between, for instance, that side there and this one that's only had one coat. I'm really happy with how this looks around the edges. That's had 3 layers of the antiquing paint. And next I want to add some shading around the edges here like this. So I'm starting off with frayed burlap, and I'm just going to go over the napkin, and I want to start off light. This is my lightest colour, and gradually get darker and darker. I don't want too much around the edges. I don't want to darken this piece too much. Let me just move my butterfly out of the way. I don't want any of the frayed burlap on the butterfly. And I'll do exactly the same on the back as well. But you can see how nicely this is framing it, and it's starting to give it that vintage aged look as well. Just look how pretty that looks. Isn't that beautiful? And then I want to go just a little bit darker with some walnut stains. So let's add some of this as well. And you see that's just looking absolutely lovely and really starting to frame my piece. I really love how this looks. I think the antiquing polish and the oxide inks have really helped to frame this. I think it's beautiful, but I just want to add one finishing touch. Let me get it the right way up. I'm going to use some of my treasure gold, and this is the colour Renaissance. Now, I get to ask questions about this all the time. You can get alternatives online. This is just gilding wax, gilding polish, and this is a wonderful brand, but Pebeo do one that is very similar. So if you can't get hold of this where you live, or if it's too expensive, do look out Pebeo, because I do believe that that's very similar. So I am just going to add a tiny amount of the gold onto my finger, and I just want to apply it just to the very edge. It smells absolutely wonderful as well, in my opinion. Because this is solvent based. What does that say about me? Oh my goodness me. But as I said, I'm just going to add a tiny amount just around the edges. Can you see it? It's just gorgeous. And I'll do this front and back. Let me show you what this looks like with the gilding wax around the edges. If I tilt it, can you see that gorgeous shine? So that's that side there. And then this one, you can see that I haven't been neat about this either, because I wanted some to come in away from the edges. I've also added a tiny bit as well to all of the sides. Isn't that just gorgeous? And there's just one last finishing touch I want to add to this. I just want to add a touch of white just to the centre of the bird's eye, just to make that pop. You see, that's just made all the difference. I'm just going to give this a quick dry with the heat tool, and then I'll flip over and do the other side as well. And we'll just do the same with this one. Oh, hang on, let me just pump my pen again. I'm using, whoops daisy, the lid's fallen off. I'm using the ZSCM acrylic paint markers. I love these. This came in a box of 10 white and 10 black, if my memory serves me correctly. I love these pens. So we'll just put a little dab there, and again you can see that that's just made the birds pop. So that is my finished transformation, and for anybody who's wondering what I'm going to do with it, it's such a weighty piece of wood. It's just going to stand up all on its own. So I can have this side here in the autumn, I can have this piece here in the spring, and that will stand up just like that. It's not going to topple over, and I just think it would look gorgeous on top of my mantelpiece. Now my measures, let's have a look, 4 1/4 inches or 10.5 centimetres by 5¼ inches or 13.5 centimeters, and it is 3/4 of an inch deep. So, you know, just have a look and see if you've got any wood offcut cut pieces lying around in the garage, or, you know, I think they'd be really cheap and easy to get hold of. You could even do this on a cardboard box, but I just think they'd make absolutely wonderful gifts for somebody, you know, to have at 2 different times of the year. We've got spring, as I've said, and autumn, but I just think this is going to look absolutely beautiful on my mantelpiece, and I'm going to display this side first. Well, I'm leaving the video here for today, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's given you some ideas for using napkins and recycling, you know, blocks of wood, cardboard boxes, etc, etc. And for anybody who wants to follow along with our weekly challenges, I'll leave the link to our Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium, in the description box below, so please do feel free to come along and join us. I'll also leave the link to my napkin and decoupage playlist for you in the description box below. You'll find plenty more ideas for using napkins and rice papers for that matter, ideas for using them in your journals, as well as loads more recycling projects. But if you've enjoyed today's video, as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. But most importantly, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.